Why is the method of performing salah for man and woman different?
The question posed was that why is the method for performing salah of man and woman different? As I mentioned, there are several books available in the market describing the method of offering salah. And most of them have separate chapters of how a woman should perform salah and how a man should offer salah, and the postures are different. In fact, there is not a single authentic hadith which says that the woman should offer salah different than the men. There's not a single authentic hadith. In fact, if you read Sahih Bukhari, volume number 1, in the book of characteristics of salah, chapter number 63, Ummah Abdarda, may Allah be pleased with her, she sat in tashahhud like the men, and she was a woman well versed in religious affairs. There are several hadith narrated by Hazrat Aisha, by the other wives of the Prophet, and other lady companions, may Allah be pleased with them all, mentioned Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, and various Sahih hadith. But none of them say that there is a particular different method and different postures for a man and woman to offer salah. The answer is very clearly given, as I mentioned earlier, in Sahih Bukhari, volume number 1, in the book of Adhan, chapter number 18, hadith number 604, and Sahih Bukhari, volume number 9, hadith number 352, the Prophet said, "Pray as you have seen me praying." So the men and women should offer salah in the same postures and same way. Hope that answers the question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Isn't the women are allowed to make a jamaat in salah?
The question that are women allowed to make jamaat in salah? Point number 1, yes, they can join a jamaat of the gents, but separate and complete segregation. If a gent is praying and imam is praying, and if they want to join, they can join. They should be in the behind rows. That they say the best row for a woman is the last row and the worst row is the front row. And for the man, the worst row is the last row and the best row is the front row. So based on the various hadiths showing that a woman can join in jamaat if a gent is reading, but there should be separate segregation of sexes and proper facility. I think a main question is, can women form a jamaat by themselves? Only a woman jamaat? Yes, they can. But the rules and regulations slightly differ. There can be a only ladies jamaat led by a lady imam. A lady can be an imam, but there are slight differences there. That if a lady is imam, in a gent, normally a gent imam stands in the front and the first row stands behind him. In Islam, when a lady stands in the same row. It's in the same row she stands. So there are various Sahih hadith that Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anha, may Allah be pleased with her, she led the prayers of all the ladies. So a woman can be an imam also. So if there are no gents, if she can't go to the mosque and the only ladies in the house or in some office place, and if they want to read, they can read. There's no problem. Hope that answers the question.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh. I wanted to ask you a question. These are two interrelated questions. Firstly, I want to ask that while men are in congregation for Jummah prayers, if I'm not wrong, as far as my knowledge is concerned, alhamdulillah, I think 4 first, they become 2 first in the Jummah prayers. First, I want to ask is, why is this so? And second, I wanted to ask that we are 2 ladies in the house. So how many people are required to, pray in congregation? As in, can we 2 pray in the house in Jamaat? And if, on the Jummah day, there are 6-7 girls in the building who pray together. So does those 4 first, they become 2 first for us also or no? Can you please enlighten me on this?
So that's 2 questions. Part 1 was that why does a Zohar Salah where we offer 4 rakat becomes 2 in Jummah? Jummah is a Zohar Salah on Friday with the condition required, it becomes the Jummah Salah. So why does it become 2? The reason is that because for a Jummah Salah, a Jummah Khutbah is also required, which is a speech or a sermon given before the Salah. So that is the reason this compensates, that since you have to also attend the Khutbah, which is a requirement, that is the reason the 4 rakat becomes 2. It is shortened. As far as second question is concerned, that how many people are required for a congregation? Now if you are asking general congregation for any salah, the requirement is 2.
Hadith of Sahih Bukhari says, even two people make a congregation, but for a Jummah Salah it's different. For a Jummah Salah, there are various other requirements. For a Jummah Salah to be conducted, there should be a khutbah, there should be an imam. The strength of the people differs. Some say 40, some say 50. It does differ. There is no hadith which I know which exactly specifies the number. What is the exact number? Some say 2, some say 4, or it's a much larger number. And a khutbah is required, imam is required. And, but natural, this khutbah is only given by a gent. So lady individually, if they want to offer a salah in Jamaat, except for Jummah Salah, they can. One of the girls, or one of the lady, or one of the women, can become an imam and offer salah in congregation, except the Jummah Salah. Jummah Salah has the requirements, and the imam of the Jummah khutbah has to be a gent. So based on this, there's no hadith which I know of which a woman has led a salah only for ladies. Generally, yes, there's a hadith of Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, radhiyallahu anha, that she led a congregation of the women for a normal salah. But no hadith stating that any woman led a Jummah Salah, even of only ladies. Hope that answers the question.
Hello, my name is Mahesh Mehta. I am retired person. I visited 15 Islamic countries. Salah area for men, women are different everywhere. Even Masjid-e-Nabwi, Salah area for men and women is different. Karbala, Najaf, Kajmen, Samra, Damascus, Masad, men and women Salah area are different. But during the Hajj times, Mina, Muzdalifah, Arafat, Safa, Marwa, and when doing Tawaf of Kaaba Sharif, men and women are together. And Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Masjid, Baitul Muqaddas, in Jerusalem, men and women are together. Why?
But the Mahesh Mehta asked a good question. And we know Mahesh Mehta since several years, since the conception of IRF. MashaAllah, he's the person who's a non-Muslim who used to take video cassettes when we started in 1991, and maximum cassettes he has taken. And I feel that he has seen more cassettes of IRF than any other Muslim also. He has asked the question that when he has been to many mosques throughout the world, most of the places, the prayer area for men and women, it is separate. But when he went to Hajj, and when he went to Makkah and Mina, Muzdalifah, the prayer area is the same and men and women are mixed, they aren't separate. What brother fails to realize, that everywhere, even in Makkah and in Muzdalifah and Mina, the prayer area is same. But because of the situation, for example, when we go to Makkah, and there, one of the important pillars is you do tawaf. Now, when you do tawaf, you can't have separate area for tawaf. That's the reason while doing tawaf, we can't have separate spaces. But after they finish tawaf, normally men and women have got different designated areas, even in Makkah. But while they are doing tawaf, if the salah time takes place, some women may not reach the designated place. So there are occasions when they stand in areas which are not designated for the women. So because of this, there are occasions when we see, there may be some women mixed up in the gent area. But ideally, you see, when you come at the rear side, not at the mutaf, at the other part, you find that there's separate designated area for the women and separate for the men. In normal mosques that we have, the entry gates of men and women is separate. In Haram, there are separate areas even for women to enter. But because when they go for tawaf, there's bound to be that they mix. But when they pray, they're supposed to be at different areas. But because the time may not permit them to reach the area, there are occasions when you may find that there may be certain mixing on certain areas. Same thing in Mina. Same thing in Muzdalifah. Even in Muzdalifah and Mina, you will never find men and women standing in the same row. Because they are scattered. It's a very big area. Because they come with their families. Same when they come for the Haram. In Makkah, they come with their family. So here, because they come with family, to have separate segregation, suppose it may be 100 acres. So half for gents, half for ladies, then the family cannot stay together. In all the other mosques, because the mosque is small, you can easily have separate area for salah, separate for entry, separate for exit, and they can meet their family outside. Here, because Muzdalifah, Arafat is hundreds of acres, and the family come together to do Hajj, while they stay in Arafat, Mina, Muzdalifah. So at that time, even when they pray, men and women don't stand in the same row. There is separate area, but the areas are scattered. Because of that, it may not look that they are separate. But if you go to Masjid al-Khaf, that's in Mina, or in Arafat, Masjid al-Namra, there is separate segregation, just like any other mosque. Because when they pray in a large gathering, in a large area, it is difficult when families come together. Otherwise, always men and women, they are supposed to be separate but equal facility. Why? The reason is so that they can concentrate on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala better, and there's no intermingling of sexes. Hope that answers the question, brother.
Where should a woman pray Taraweeh? I think we've partly answered this question. At home or in the masjid? If she prays at home, can she lead the congregation or a congregation of women?
It's mentioned in Sayyid Targhib, hadith number 336, where the beloved Prophet said that the best mosque for a woman is her innermost room, her innermost chamber. And the best place for a woman to pray is her inner room. That's the best. And in another hadith of Musnad Ahmad, volume number 6, hadith number 27202, which also mentioned in Sayyid Targhib, hadith number 335. Once a lady asked the Prophet, I would love to pray with you. The lady said. And the Prophet replied, I know you'd love to pray with me, but your prayer in your inner room would be better than praying in your house. The prayer in your house would be better than praying in the courtyard. Your praying in your courtyard would be better than praying in the mosque where you live, where around your people. Your praying in the mosque where you live, around your people, is better than praying in my mosque. So that means for a woman, the best prayer is the inner room.
MashaAllah.
And the way is hadith that praying in your room is better than the house better than the courtyard better than the mosque in your area, then mosque in your better than the mosque of the Prophet. Though the Prophet said, it's mentioned in Sahih Muslim, volume number 2, hadith number 3210, that praying in my mosque is equivalent to 1,000 prayers. That means if you pray in the mosque of Muhammad, it's equal to praying 1,000 times in any other mosque. But this hadith is mainly referring to the men, because no two Sahih hadith can contradict. So this hadith mainly refers to the men. For the women, the best place is the house, especially her inner room. And there's a hadith in Sunan Abu Dawud, volume number 1, book of Salah, hadith number 591. Warqa, may Allah be pleased with her.
Ameen.
She comes to the Prophet and says that, I would like to have a muaddin in my house. And the Prophet gave her permission. The next hadith, Sunan Abu Dawud, volume number 1, book of Salah, hadith number 592. It says that Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he went to a house after appointing the muaddin, and he asked her to lead the prayer in congregation, and the women in the house, they joined her. And the narrator says that he saw the muaddin, he was the old person. It's further mentioned in a Sahih hadith of Bayhaqi, hadith number 1922. Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, who is the wife of the Prophet, she says that she led the congregation of the women. She was the imam, but she stood in the middle of the row. And another hadith in Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba, hadith number 4953, say Salma, who was also the wife of the Prophet, may Allah be pleased with her.
Ameen.
Even she said that she was the imam of a congregation of women, and she was standing in the center of the first row. So here it indicates that the women, they can pray, but it is better for them to pray in the inner room, better than going in the mosque. But they are permitted to go in the mosque, as we discussed earlier yesterday, that praying in the mosque is permitted, but for them the inner room is better than the house is better than the courtyard better than the mosque close to them, than the mosque of the Prophet. But they can pray, they can go to the mosque. If they pray at home, they can have a congregation. There's no problem at all. And a woman can lead the congregation according to the way hadith I mentioned.